while we're doing it.
Yes, do.
So how do I do
Yeah,
that? So
we're
from
live.
your page.
Yeah, that'd be
Yay,
great.
we're live.
We're
Okay,
live. Hi, Kaley.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so amazing also to get to see you because usually we're just messaging and now I get to
Oh,
see your face. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Well, I can always see your face because you're always doing lives that I'm watching.
Ah, thanks. That means you get to see me all the
Yeah,
time.
I always feel like you're there.
Good. I'm glad. That's what we want. We want you to feel that for sure. I'm just sharing this now so that,
Brilliant. So that your friends
um,
can see it.
yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So
Yeah,
exciting to be live in the UK.
I know. And you're at the moment in Jerusalem.
No, at the moment I'm in LA.
Oh, you're in LA.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you were back in Israel.
not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but usually that's where I am.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's quite hard to get flights at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the flights like go through New York, which is definitely not where I want to be. And it's, it's complicated. It's like you go back and then you have to be in quarantine. And so
Yes,
I'm applying now to get permission to quarantine at home.
yes,
Um, because I love my home and I have an amazing, it's perfect. It's a perfect place to quarantine.
yes,
I don't want to quarantine in a facility.
yes.
So I'm submitting a request to do that so that whenever I do get a flight, I won't have to, because otherwise it's kind of pointless to go. Like you want to feel as close to normal as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird to just even say that out loud, right? Like what is our reality? Like when did that, oh, I need to apply to quarantine at home. Like, and we just say it like it's normal now. Like
Yeah.
we've somehow adapted as if like that's a given. Like it's insane.
We've got a whole new vocabulary.
It's a whole new vocabulary. It's a whole new way of life. Like who would have thought this is what we would be talking about right now?
I mean, on New Year's Eve, I was like, yes, 2020, this is my year. And now I'm like, oh.
Oh,
Okay.
what is this year? What's happening?
What even?
Yeah, but I think there is something about that. I think this is still going to be everyone's year because, I imagine when you said that, on New Year's Eve, it was probably like, I'm going to soar and, everything I've envisioned is going to come to fruition. And like, this is, but the truth is that how do all of our, goals get actualized? It's like when we have clear vision and when we are our best selves and 2020 is clear vision, and if this experience isn't giving people clarity and perspective, then like I don't know what will. So for the globe it's going to be the world's year, even if for all of us individually that's going to mean something different. That's my belief.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we met, like so many people who've been here on this Facebook Live quarantine TV.
Yeah.
We met at Tony Robbins' UPW in London.
Yes. What an experience that was. Should we even bother telling people what we went through? Oh my gosh.
Complicated.
Yeah, that would have never worked if like there was a global pandemic. I mean, we never would have.
8 of us with 2 beds.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We showed up at this Airbnb, which turned out to be fake. It was like a scam, but there were 8 of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
8 women. It was a total scam. It was like 11 p.m., something like that. It was late at night. The next morning, we're supposed to be like on for Tony and for this, 4-day seminar.
Yeah.
And we didn't have beds to sleep in. And all of us just like rolled in. I think we shared like 2 towels. It was something crazy.
None of us had met before.
Total strangers from all over the world.
We had no lock for the door.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
None of us knew whether any of the others in the apartment were in on the scam.
Right. No one knew who to trust and like how this had happened and how this came about. The owner of the apartment shows up because he was supposed to meet the person on Airbnb that had signed a contract with all of us. It was just nuts. I think I remember like we somehow took like cushions off chairs to like make a bed on the floor for people. We were
I said the
using
bed was zippy, I think. I
what?
said the bed was zippy.
Yeah, we were all sharing beds with like strangers.
It was so
insane.
uncomfortable.
It was so insane.
And
Yeah,
all there
so
was in the cupboards was like half a bottle of vodka, no crockery, no cutlery.
I don't know how we were supposed to manage that for 4 nights. I still would have taken it though if there were like beds to sleep in, anything, because then we all had to like keep moving day after day. It was insane.
Yeah.
But we are very well versed in uncertainty.
Yeah.
And rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
And showing up to shocking situations. So maybe it was just preparing us for this.
Yeah.
It was unreal. So that's how Claire and I got to know each other. It was a deep bond right away.
My life.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got through it.
Yeah, we did. And we can laugh about it.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to remember. I mean, we all stayed connected. We all stayed in touch. But like one of the women was just like in a total panic. She was just like having a panic attack in the middle of all of it. I remember having to like, I can't remember who it was, but I remember just like putting my hands on her shoulders and being like, I need you to look at me right now. Like, this is our situation. Like, I need you to get it together. I was just like, pull yourself together, woman. It was like, and she was a complete stranger.
It was intense.
It was. Oh, it was. Yeah.
And then the next day we were like walking on fire, just doing normal things.
Yeah, that was normal. Just walking on fire. No big deal.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, this is life. This is real life, you know, things happen, you know, so yeah.
So what I know about you is that you had a diagnosis of having multiple sclerosis at the age of 12.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just a kid. And it's so interesting because I always say, like, it's kind of all I knew. You know, you don't really at 12 have, you know, a sense of identity. You haven't formed much of a worldview yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really was all I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have been medically signed off as being someone who has no MS symptoms and no longer has the disease.
Yeah, it's kind of it's insane every time I even hear it. I'm just like, what? How is this my life? But yeah, a couple years back, my neurologist turned to me one day, said, I don't know what you did or how you did this, but you're done. And, you know, given that I've had this disease, I had that disease since I was 12. Also, just my personality, you know, as soon as I was diagnosed, I wanted to learn everything about it. I immersed myself in the community. I became a spokesperson for many organizations. I created my own nonprofit, even as a kid. And so I was doing my own research all the time. This was never mentioned as an option. I didn't see it in any of the research. You know, I was told I'd be in a wheelchair by the end of high school. And I mean, point blank, a neurologist said to me, don't plan on going to college. I mean, it was grim. And at the very least, you know, this is something chronic that I would have for life. And thank God I adapted very well. And I, you know, changed everything about my life to live a life of illness. And at a certain point, I just didn't want to live that way. So I was going through my own process, but I never expected, like, my own process of healing, but I never expected a doctor to confirm that. And I didn't even bother telling them, you know. Yeah. I just figured they'd look at it as like I was going into remission and my symptoms were improving. That would be normal. Yes. And and then one day he said that to me, and I was in shock. And I said to him, you know, I just don't understand how you're saying this, because like I would have heard about that. I would have known that that was even an option. Yeah. And he said, well, there is a category that we have called no evidence of disease activity. It's just not talked about a lot. And, you know, we've had so many conversations since where I'm always just pushing him on why this isn't talked about more. Yeah. And it feels like it's so unfair to all those out there with MS that,
Yes.
I really believe in the power of the mind. And if someone had said to me from day one, listen, this is an option, this
Yeah.
category exists, we've seen it happen, I would have fought for that from day one.
Yes.
I would have done everything in my power. Instead, I was trying to just survive, which was also necessary. I was
Yeah.
severely ill. I was really debilitated. I was very limited. And so, but I was just trying to just have any sense of like just getting through the day. That's what I was fighting for, just to get through the day, not wellness, that had never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
It did on an intuitive, inherent level, but if a doctor had said, well, this is kind of an option, it's rare and unusual, we don't talk about it a lot, but it is there, I would have been like, I'll be the rare, like, let me,
Yeah.
so my neurologist and I have talked about this a lot of just, it's kind of like our wheels are turning on how can we be more of a voice for others. He wants to be more of a voice for other neurologists of giving people hope. If people have hope,
Yes,
that makes all the difference. I mean, listen, it's what all the entire globe wants hope right now, and we don't even know what that hope would look like. Do I want to be told I can leave my front door? Does that scare me more? Does that scare me less? We don't even know what hope would look like, but we want something to hold on to. So he blew me away that day, and it's been incredible and such a gift to actually have the medical confirmation, because it means I get to go and share it. I know plenty of other people who've healed themselves from MS, from worse, from cancer. But if you talk to their doctors, they'll sort of just explain it away as like a fluke, or, well, that person's just in remission. The person really believes that they are healed.
Yeah.
So I guess I felt that when to have medical confirmation of that for me was like, that for me was a sign of like, I have to shout it from the rooftops. Like, I get to share this now, and not be told I'm crazy.
Yes.
Well, I'm still sometimes told I'm crazy, but for other reasons.
Yeah. So I had a first cousin who had MS and died in her 30s, so I know a bit about MS. But also what you say about curing yourself from cancer, like I have a friend who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and did recover, chose not to have chemo and did other treatment.
Wow.
Around when she was doing that, and I have another friend who went through the whole treatment and became cancer free. She doesn't know how, and is now works professionally as therapist and healer. So yes, these things do happen, and they're not very much spoken about.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It's not spoken about, but what's so interesting is that the oldest form of this is the placebo effect. And we talk about that every day, like it's completely normal.
Yes.
We all take the placebo effect as given, as science, as it's just as powerful as medicine. I mean, that's what studies show is the placebo, the sugar pill that you've taken and told that it was going to have good results for you, is just as powerful as actually taking the medication. Even when you tell the patient it's a placebo, that still works, which is remarkable. So, that's the most solid evidence of the power of the mind. And it's out there, and yet we still don't really talk about this. But there's a lot of this happening more and more every day right now. It's called, spontaneous remission. I can't say mine was spontaneous. It took years of work and shifting my mindset. But this is becoming more common.
So you've written a book about your experience.
I co-authored a book, called Transforming Your Life, Volume 2, with a bunch of other coaches around the world, actually quite a few from the UK, all just sharing their own transformative life experiences and how they took what they faced, what they went through, and turned it into a way to help others and guide others through similar experiences. Yeah.
And I was going to say something else then, and I can't remember.
I talk a lot. I'm sorry. You might lose your flow. Sorry.
I love that you talk a lot. That's why I invited you, because I love listening to you.
You're so sweet.
And you now work as a coach to help people with chronic illness.
Yeah. So that's what was so interesting to me is like, after I went through it, a bunch of people I didn't tell people at first. I was really scared to tell anyone. I was scared of reactions. I was scared of pushback. I was scared of how I say this to other people who are sick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how that's going to make them feel. So it took me a while to start sharing it, but like my inner circle knew. And just from that, like the word of mouth started spreading. And I would start to get calls from a friend who was just diagnosed, or from a friend's cousin who, you know, has had MS for a decade. And they said, you know, can you guide us in what you've done? And so for those initial few people, I said, sure, but you know, I don't know if this, what worked for me is going to work for you. You know, it's an experiment. And sure enough, it was working. You know, people were getting better. They were recovering. Their symptoms were improving. And that was profound. And that's sort of when I went like, oh, there's something here. Like, I have to start paying attention to this. And so I threw myself into this world because I'm not the only one, you know, in this field. Yeah. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on and looking at everything in this industry. And I realized it was fascinating. So for example, you know, one of the leaders in this field is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has several books on the topic. I would say start with the book, You Are the Placebo. And it was fascinating to hear like what he says leads to healing was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I did. But I had never heard of him. So it was so profound. So anyways, you know, as I kind of worked with those like people on the side, I really like developed a program that works. If people work it, it works. And obviously I never guarantee healing. I can't do that. But if you take these steps, your symptoms will get better, because if you live in alignment with yourself, if you learn to have a new relationship with your body and you change the way you think about illness and health, and you give our body has an immense healing capacity. Our bodies are so powerful, so powerful. We just have to give it the opportunity to heal. We have to basically get out of the way. And you have to be guided in how to do that. No one ever taught us how to do that. The most important relationship of our lives is with our body. And no one like hands us a manual and is like, you know, it's all like, here's how to drive the car. Like, what am I supposed to do with this, you know? So I try to teach people that, and to learn what their body is saying through different symptoms and how to respond appropriately. Because it's so easy to get frustrated and to do all the wrong things that are totally understandable, but will just make illness worse. So yeah, I feel really blessed that this is what I get to do today. It's really cool.
And then really the opposite of the placebo effect really is the psychosomatic effect. And I noticed at the beginning of lockdown how I became super aware of every possible symptom that I was hearing about.
Yes.
Focusing inwards on looking for any sort of sign of illness and like super alert to like the slightest tickle in my throat or change in temperature or in my body, you know. And then I realized that, wow, like being surrounded by talk of illness really can make you feel ill.
Yes, 100%. It absolutely can make you feel ill. You know, I'm only laughing as you say that because of the sheer number of calls I've gotten, you know, over the last 2 months of, I have a sore throat, you know, or I'm having a hard time breathing. And, you know, obviously I take that responsibility very seriously. You know, I'm not a medical professional. I always tell people you need to seek medical advice. You know, I'm not providing medical advice, but let's just check in. You know, I'm here to check in with you. And you know, I can do like a guided breathing exercise. If you can do that exercise, you don't actually have shortness of breath. You're freaking yourself out, you know? And so then, you know, then we just need to deal with some of the anxiety around this. That's valid. You know, I get that. But I've done so many COVID consults at this point that like you can kind of tell right away when it's psychosomatic, when we've created the symptom. And that's very real, by the way. It's not, I think a lot of people think psychosomatic means that it's in our heads. All that means is that our psychology can create a physical manifestation in our bodies. It doesn't mean we're making it up, right? Someone actually has the headache, right? It's just coming from somewhere. Like, I don't think psychosomatic is like a negative word, you know? I'm just like, yeah, of course. Like, you know, I really had MS, and yes, there were also emotions and, you know, psychological things leading to that, you know? So I completely hear what you're saying. So many people are feeling that. And it's really a shame. And it's not just a shame, it's dangerous because that weakens our immune systems. If
Yeah.
we're looking for what could go wrong in every moment and like that tickle in the back of your throat and oh my gosh, am I not breathing fully? And if we're looking for it, it sends the signal to the body that something is wrong. And so then the body will create something wrong. It might manifest in a number of ways. I cannot tell you how many people are starting to have weird pain and weird fatigue and headaches that they never had. And all of this stuff will like, it's harming our cells in real time. And studies show this. It directly impacts our bodies, right? They can show how like a certain emotion can immediately change the way our livers process toxins. I mean, that's just one example. There's so many examples, but even just being frustrated, for example, or afraid changes our heart waves and our brain waves. They can study that in real time. So I'm just like, I'm looking at the world and I see it. People are just walking around. It's like there's a really funny video of like someone sneezes and like at a bus station and someone like pulls out a gun and like shoots the guy, you know, like, you're just like, but that's the reaction. Like you cough just to clear your throat. And everyone's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, do you have a fever? and, and that was like, on the one hand, I'm so glad people are being more health conscious and more on top of their hygiene. That's, you know, I was immunocompromised for years and that made me so sensitive to seeing how other people deal with their hygiene. And so just like, how did you just sneeze into your hands and then go toss the salad with your hands? Like, it was like so terrifying to watch that when you're immunocompromised. So I'm glad there's an awareness, but it really needs to be with a balance. Our bodies are not the enemy.
Yes.
And to live in fear like that and to always be on edge weakens your body's ability to stay healthy, to stay strong, to fight when something comes up. There's no need for us to be looking for symptoms. We need to be trusting our bodies. And that trusting your body and knowing you're healthy, it actually directly impacts the immune system. So, I mean, you're bringing that up and it's so real. And it also like is like painful for me. And by the way, just to tell you what that's called, it's called the nocebo effect. And it's been studied extensively. So it's the opposite of the placebo. It's been studied extensively and people can actually create symptoms of serious illness just from being told that. And the most severe case is when someone is mistakenly diagnosed with something fatal like cancer and given a prognosis of, let's say, 2 months to live, and they die 2 months later to the day, and then an autopsy reveals they never had cancer. So it's that powerful. The nocebo effect is very real and dangerous.
So I've been working a lot on my state of mind over this time. And
wait, say that again. On your what? Oh, state of mind. Yeah.
State of mind. I've just been noticing how many mood swings I can have in a day because of how everything is.
Yeah.
And, what improves that, and to do more to level that out, and also to hydrate and to eat better. And I've noticed how comforting sugar and wheat are and how inflammatory they are also.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really interesting in that way for me.
Claire, that's so amazing, because I think, this can go different directions for people. And so I first just want to really acknowledge you. Like, this is a huge opportunity to value our bodies and to take care of ourselves in new ways and say, like, I do really like candy, but is it worth it to put that inflammation in my body when I want my body to be able to work for me? So like, how can I nurture it? I want it to nurture me. How can I nurture it? So first of all, just like good for you. And to bring that awareness, especially into the mood swings. I mean, it's so easy right now to like, something can flip. And, I very much protect my mental state, my emotional state, my vibration. And that's, that all happens in my morning. And usually that keeps me solid throughout the day. Since this pandemic has started, like one person can say something about the news and I'll notice myself like spiraling and thoughts. Well, and thankfully, like I've trained my mind enough to, interrupt it, to cut that and just say like, hold on, we're not going there. Like, that's not serving me. Come back to your center. But the thing is, Claire, is that, you know, everything in my life has taught me how to be resilient, has taught me how to be in charge of my mind and on top of my emotions that way. Most people don't have that. And
Yeah.
so those mood swings that you're describing are like not just normal. I mean, I think people are having this so much more than even what you described, and are in terror throughout the day. And you hear good news, so then you get really, really excited. And then, but this other station says something else. And so you don't know which one to trust. And then, you find out about another Zoom funeral. And like, it's this constant, cycling and crashing. It's so hard on the body, because we're releasing so much cortisol. It's a state of chronic stress, of constant, of like chronic trauma. Like we're being almost like re-traumatized every day. And I think you had an earlier guest who spoke about trauma, if I remember. Yeah. So, which is so important to be thinking about.
Jessica Elizabeth Opert, who's a dating and love coach.
Yeah.
Relationship coach. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important. I don't like to use the word trauma because I think that then we identify with that and then go like, oh, I've been traumatized. And we use that almost as an excuse.
Yes.
But the fact is that this can be a traumatizing experience.
Yes.
And what's unique about it is that most trauma happens, there's an event, and then you can start the healing. And we're just every day again and again. And so what I've been trying so hard, I mean, and that's why I immediately jumped on creating this Facebook group, is I immediately realized people don't have, the average person doesn't have the tools to regulate emotion, the tools to just cope, to find their inner strength, to harness resilience for just day-to-day stuff. I mean, the messages that you see on Twitter, like what people complain over, for me, it's not a judgment, but compared to what I've seen in my life, I look at some things that people complain about, I'm just like, oh, honey, like you just need a dose of perspective. Like that is not a real problem, So, and then all of a sudden we're in these really hard times. It's not just illness, it's financial. It's not seeing loved ones. It's not being hugged. There's so many layers. And I just immediately went, oh my gosh, people aren't going to be able to manage this. And I want to help. I want to help them learn a much deeper level of coping, because I don't believe that modern psychology has given people those tools. Even people who've been in therapy for years, I don't think they know how to handle this type of crisis. I just don't think the tools are there, and we have to go so much deeper. And listen, I've been through hell, and you walk through the fire and you learn how to come out better than before. I just felt like I wanted to help people. So anyways, it was a really long way to say that what you're experiencing is so normal, and I'm so proud of you for just like staying mindful of it. That's amazing. It's important.
And I agree that I feel I'm in a very privileged position that I don't have to worry about having enough food to eat at the moment. I don't have to worry about having somewhere to live at the moment. Quite possibly my business will survive this. And if it doesn't,
Amen. I hope so.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, I have a whole range of other skills. I have other little businesses. So I feel like super privileged. I've got a really good network. I have made various lifestyle choices, and I have various support networks which help me through. But
it's amazing.
I still found it quite challenging. So that's why I started these conversations, because I felt like if I'm this challenged in my position, then how challenged is everyone else, and how much do they need to hear just somebody who actually I admire talking about their experience and how they have come to live and what their morning rituals are, how they approach the day. Like for most people, morning ritual is something completely new.
Yeah. I think not only is it completely new, I think people have gone the opposite direction. So someone who might have had like a morning routine, just like, what the 5 things they do before they go to work, right? Even just making the bed, brushing your teeth, making your cup of coffee. There's a routine to that. And it makes you feel, like you're already engaged.
Yes.
So I think even that has almost gone to the opposite direction. I've been asking people, are you still making your bread every day? Are you still, someone like randomly posted like it's 2 p.m. and I haven't brushed my teeth yet, which is so brave, to be honest. I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
But it's really important as the days go on to continue to give ourselves a structure so that we're nourishing ourselves, that there's self-care there. We have to be like loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves more than ever before, So I don't believe that as a general population, we were doing it even enough beforehand. But now it's like all of a sudden we're in crisis, and it's so crucial. One of the things I talk about so often is meditation, and meditation is powerful on multiple levels. But if anyone was in that position of like, well, one day I'll learn to meditate, or yeah, I would love to be that person who meditates every day. Now it's essential. You have to have at least an hour every day where your mind isn't, succumbing to every mood swing and running and hearing the news all day long. And like, you have to protect that. No one else is going to do that for you. We have to protect ourselves in that way, So yeah, the morning routine is so important.
And the other thing I was going to ask you about is the collective grief that we experience through our loss of our normality, loss of certainty, and through your experience of grief of losing your fiance. That you have become a grief counsellor through that. And do you know what I mean by the collective grief?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I really feel it. I'm very much an empath and a feelings person, and I really feel it.
Yeah. I really feel it also. It's so interesting because for me, this has been a very powerful time. I've loved this time. I've literally never been better, but I can still feel like I sort of watch people walking down the street, and I can almost like feel their pain, and you can see it on people. And there's so much that we're grieving, and there are so many layers to grief. Grief is very complex. Anytime we are grieving any type of loss, it brings up all of our previous losses, things that we may have not even realized. So people are dealing with so much loss on a day-to-day basis. They're grieving the lives they once had and trying so hard to hold on to a sense of control, right? You see people, even like trying to plan for things, but it's a false sense of hope because we don't know how long this is going to be, and we're not going back to the way things were, right? We've talked about that so much in the Facebook group. We're not going back to the way things were. We're going to create a new world, which is going to be beautiful and wonderful, but it doesn't mean there isn't a sadness for what was. So we're grieving what was. We're grieving a lot of the what ifs. I've seen that so much right now. People saying like, oh, I wish I had started my business just like a month earlier. And all these what ifs of like, well, and I was supposed to take that trip, and I was supposed to go here, and I was going to do that. And the people who had weddings planned and, graduations and all of these things. It's odd, but I actually consider that a what if. We don't actually know. Maybe there wouldn't have been a pandemic, and for any number of reasons, something would have been postponed or rescheduled. We don't know, right? We have this false belief that we know what tomorrow holds, and we don't. And so what I always tell people and my clients, as a grief coach, what I tell my clients, and I had to learn this for myself, is you have to drop the what if. You have to, because you actually don't know how it would have been. And you don't know what this time of life would have looked like for you. Actually, you don't know if you would have made it to graduation. And that perspective is crucial, because that means that you can celebrate the fact that you're alive even if you didn't get to walk across the stage at graduation, and things just look a little bit differently. But we can drive ourselves, we can make that grief so much bigger if we add the what ifs to it. It's, of course, we're grieving. We're grieving just that normalcy of getting in the car and driving to work and seeing everyone at work that day, even the people that you couldn't stand, right? Like, how many people are like, I'm so sad, I complained. Why was I whining about that? Like,
Yeah.
I would do anything to see that annoying coworker again. You know what I mean? So, you know, that kind of grief, we can actually do a lot more healing work around. It's really hard to heal the what if. And so I always say that grief is real, but you have to drop it because there's no answering that game. And you actually don't know that. That's not real. But I would have been doing this on this day, or on this day I was going to be flying to visit my cousins, and this, you don't know that. Actually, that's not real. So you have to drop that. So I'm a very like tough love on that side, but the rest of the collective grief that we all have is also, it's also like an anticipatory grief. It's an anticipatory anxiety of like the fear of what is to come and what it will look like. And for that, I always say, what do you want it to look like? Think about everything that could go right rather than everything that could go wrong, and build hope for that, and build dreams for that, and get excited about that. And, you know, get excited about the first time you're going to get together with all your friends, and get excited about going to the office again. And we don't know what it's going to look like or what that's going to feel like. And it might be social distance, but find things that you want to look forward to and be excited for once the dust settles. Who do you want to be? What do you want to feel like? What lessons? And the way we heal the collective grief that all of us are experiencing over the world we once knew is gone. We heal that by saying, what would I have liked to do differently, that when I get back into a more normal kind of interaction, that I want to make sure I'm doing now.
Yes.
I didn't do this before. I didn't appreciate it in that way. Okay, don't be hard on yourself. Like, this is not a time to be self-critical. It's the last thing anybody needs right now. But instead, make it a lesson, you know, or what were the things you loved, or a memory that you loved that you just, you know what, it's making you giggle just thinking about it. Message your coworkers, message your friends, and say, like, remember that time we were all standing around and it was so fun and we celebrated so-and-so's birthday? Or share those things, bring those things up. Don't be afraid to speak out the things that you miss, because that actually it hurts, but it's also very uplifting. It still existed. It was real, and you'll create it in a new way. Holding on to those things that we loved is healthy. It is important. I miss it and I love it. And bringing that memory up, you can actually have the same amount of joy now as you had in that moment. And I want people to be in joy. Like, you deserve that. Like, to be sitting at home scared is, you know, I don't want anybody feeling that. Feel that joy now, even if it's not happening right now. You can make it feel real, you know?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I've been doing that. I've been like,
you're a rock star.
I didn't take the opportunity to do any dating. Like, what the hell was that about? Because I was worried about being good enough. You know? Worried about being acceptable. And now I'm like, right, after this, I'm out there dating.
Yeah, you could even start now, right? Everybody, it's so much easier. Like, everybody's doing it online. People have time
on their sofa, on their couch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good for you. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, and like, I was selling my apartment and buying a house.
Nice.
Like, in the middle of that. So now I'm like, I was looking at all the wrong houses. Like, yeah, like, I'm really clear about the sort of house I want to live in now.
Amazing.
Yeah. Looking in all the wrong places. That's a gift.
It's a huge gift, and it's amazing that you can see that. And I firmly believe that's happening in every person's life. They might just not be seeing it, you know? So there were things that, like, I've been so scared to do and have been wanting to do, but I've been terrified. And all of a sudden this hit, and I was just like, people need me. And I got to get out of my own way. Like, I just have to just power through that fear, and like, enough is enough. And I just said, like, no more excuses. You just have to go and do. I was so terrified, like this right here. Okay. this would be something that I've been wanting to do probably for over a year. Talked about, I want to be live, I want to be on Facebook Live, I want to be doing interviews, but my fear was getting in the way, and
Yeah.
what will people say, and what judgment, and then the self-doubt. You and I talked about that earlier. That self-doubt pops in of like, but who am I to say those things? And it's like, all of a sudden, I mean, I got to LA the day before lockdown. And in Israel, we had already been preparing for weeks. So it was a much slower progression. It wasn't like so black and white. That was a shock to the system, I think. So in Israel, it was a much slower process. So, and emotionally, Israelis are much more prepared for crisis. And
of course.
and the country and the government is so much more prepared. So we don't go into fear. I didn't feel any fear when I was in Israel. It was like, okay, they're going to do what they need to do. We'll be taken care of and protected. I landed in LA and it was shocking, Claire. No one asked me anything at the airport. No one asked where I had been or if I had been sick or anything. Nobody said you need to quarantine. I just walked into this country, no questions asked, which was shocking. And it was the first day of restrictions. The next day, like full lockdown went in and I could feel the fear. Like it was palpable. And I just said, like, it's enough, Kaley. You have to get out of your own way and just serve. Just serve. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, literally Monday morning, I started that Facebook group. I got here on a Sunday. Monday morning, I started the group. By noon, we had like 200 people in it. And I was like, oh, and there I was just doing my thing. So, I'm hoping that people are seeing the lessons and the way they can grow. And I'm so happy for you that you're going to be looking for the right house that's going to be more aligned with you, because this is a time of seeing truth, right? 2020 vision.
Yes.
And all the garbage has been stripped away, right? I don't want anyone to be suffering. That's for sure. Let's just all say that, like, right now, we have so much compassion for those who are suffering and who are struggling.
Yeah. Of course.
And that said, like, that is where we need to have that perspective of like, our titles didn't matter, and being the lawyer at the doctors, yes, but like, who we were at the office didn't matter. We're all home now. And, all the things that we thought we needed, the fancy car, like all of that is being stripped away. And it's like, what actually matters? And that's going to allow you to get the right home for you. So that's, that's beautiful. And hopefully all of us are getting that clearer vision of like, what's actually our truth. It's such an amazing opportunity for us to come to that for ourselves, you know?
And I do think it's so important to emphasize that it is possible to have a bigger view of things and to have massive compassion for people who have the virus. And, and equally to understand that a lot of people suffer in many other ways, and to have equally compassion for that. It's not a pick and mix. It's not like I agree with the government, therefore I have more compassion for people who have experienced loss because of the virus, or I have a view on pharmaceutical companies, therefore I have no compassion. It's not like a pick and mix. It's like you can have all the compassion and you can have quite a large view and quite a lot of interests in different people's point of view, and you can appreciate people's point of view whether or not they're your friend, and that you don't have to agree with your best friend's point of view, and you can still be best friends.
Yes. Oh, amen to everything that you have just said. That message needs to be so loud right now, because
and you can change your mind at any time about any of it.
You can change your mind at any time about any of it. You can hold space for both. You can be growing during this time and loving this time and still have compassion for those who are facing this virus, who've lost a parent or both parents, right? I know people like that. One should not negate the other. And I keep hearing all these things of like, well, someone posted this, post of like all the amazing art they're doing. And it just felt so insensitive. And it was like, how is someone else enjoying their life at all affecting you? Like, they weren't saying, I don't care that you're suffering. That's
Yes.
not what they were saying. They were sharing joy and an opportunity to see something beautiful. Like they're
Yeah.
sharing art after all, right? So, I think it's, as human beings, we naturally want to see things as we believe in a false duality. It's
Yeah.
black or white. I am happy or sad. I agree with you or I don't. But that's not reality. Like we are complex beings. I don't know one human on the planet who is like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and grief taught me that. When I was grieving, it was so interesting. I felt so expansive in the experience because I was suffering so much. I was in excruciating pain, but I also had bliss for for the experience. I felt bliss that David had been in my life and that I had experienced love and that he had experienced love, at the end of his life and all the lessons that I gained from him and it was profound to feel that, to feel so much pain. I mean, the pain was like I literally thought I was going to break from the pain, like just physically. I was convinced like if I kept feeling it I would just tear down the center.
Hmm.
But you keep feeling it and then there's also joy and just like an elation, and that's when I sort of realized like, oh, human beings can hold so much more than we realize. So I want us to trust ourselves in this time and say, just me enjoying my life, me growing right now, me learning, like my own learning and gaining skills and learning to meditate and developing my morning routine and actually loving the me that's emerging or loving the lifestyle that's emerging
Mm.
from this experience does not at all diminish your caring, your compassion, the love that you share for your fellow being.
Mm.
And that is, I mean, it's such an important point right now.
Yeah.
I think going into this, we were seeing more and more polarization globally,
Hmm.
especially in the United States, and
Yeah.
it's so important to be able to say, like, guys, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
Like your opinion politically this way or the other doesn't change who you are as a person. You're a human being, and I can care about you and love you as a fellow human.
Mm.
We can also disagree, and I can
Yeah.
also change my mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
as we're seeing the governments across the globe do every day of like,
Yeah.
today you can do this, today you can't. Today you can do this, today you can't. Like, if we're not learning to be resilient and roll with the punches, like, hello, like that's a big lesson too,
Yeah.
So, oh, I love that you're bringing that to the surface. It's so important.
And in a way that we create our own certainty. So we
Yeah.
create our own certainty in our own life, in
Yeah.
our own social group and family and our day-to-day life, which means that what happens outside of us doesn't affect us as much.
It's so crucial. It's so funny because like I sort of laugh at like nothing is certain. And I think the lesson is learning to be okay with the uncertainty. It
Mm.
is really what we need. What is certain is how you show up
Mm.
always and who you are at your core, right? So you might behave differently in different situations, but
Mm.
your core is still the same, right? Someone
Mm.
might be very generous. Someone else might be really strong-minded, determined. Someone else might be a great listener. That like these are the parts of our core, right? Someone is pure love. I mean, I believe deep down all of us are. We just have to let that out and access that.
Mm.
Those to me are the certainties. Those to me are the constants. And if we can learn to trust ourselves
Mm.
by knowing that essence, by knowing that that's really who we are, then it doesn't matter what's happening around me. Just like you said, nothing's going to push me over, right? I'm standing here tall. I'm grounded in the feet. My head is coming up like I'm receiving, right? So I am like straight at 180 degrees. You can come and push me over. I'm not going anywhere. I'm good
Right.
because this is me and because I know who I am.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Not a lot of people have done that or gone through
Yeah.
that process or that journey, but we still have, even if you're in anxiety, even if you're feeling fear, you can come back to that place of like, but who am I deep down? And to trust that person and that essence, I think is crucial for any day of life, but especially in a crisis.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that brings me to your Facebook group, which is called Staying Grounded Through Coronavirus.
Yeah, staying centered through coronavirus. Yeah.
Staying centered through coronavirus. So
Yeah.
I was actually really lucky to be one of the first people to join that in the first days.
Yeah, you've been super active. I love having you
Yeah,
in the group.
yeah, and
So
so I like joined, followed, asked for notifications, and there have been times when I have felt so shaken by all the change, but just tuning in to watching your lives.
hmm.
And sometimes you've actually done tapping in your lives, and just having another voice to listen to and to focus on has really helped me to stay centered. It really
I'm
has.
so, I'm
Yeah.
so glad to hear that. You have no idea. Especially because I said how scary it was for me to finally just do it. But
Yes.
that means the world. And I literally started it for that reason, that like there has to be another voice that people are listening to, and it can't just be the news all day or our friends, or like it has to be something else. And I literally said to myself, like, if this helps one person, it'll be worth it. And so you've just made all of that worth it for me. So thank you. Um, yeah, it's, and just so that people know what you mean by tapping. So tapping is the clinical term is emotional freedom technique, EFT. That's what most people hear of it as, but colloquially we call it tapping. And it's basically the quickest way to access the mind body connection. So if you're feeling anxiety, what we do is we tap on acupressure points, and it helps release those emotions. So what I love to teach people, I would love to teach people how to face their feelings and process their feelings, in real time on a day-to-day basis. But I'm not able to do that for 500 people at once, right? I can do that one-on-one with my clients, but I can use tapping as a way that even if I don't know exactly what's going on for you, if you're having some kind of anxiety, you can tap along with me while we're while I'm live, and it's going to release the emotion. Even if it's not anxiety, like that's what's so profound about it. And studies show that it calms down the amygdala. And the amygdala is the part of our brain that controls our fight or flight response. So our flight or flight response releases a bunch of hormones, but one of them is cortisol. And when cortisol is released in the body, it weakens the immune system. It's a very positive hormone. We need to have that hormone for survival, but we don't want to be weakening our immune system right now. And we're all feeling like the moment you feel anxiety, cortisol shoots up. So it's like the easiest way for me to serve so many people at once, because even if you're feeling fine that day, we're going to boost your immune system just from you tapping. So I just wanted people to know what that is that you were referring to. We've also been doing meditation and so many different things in the group, but yeah.
Yeah, I have found it really helpful.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm really so glad. Really That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that and that you joined. I heard something really interesting this week. A friend of mine said, I've been trying to get my friend to join the group, but she's scared. And I was just like, what could you possibly have to be scared of? Like, it's a Facebook group. You could leave if you want. Like, and it just made me realize she's probably just so overwhelmed by fear right now. And I think so many people right now just don't even know what to do with themselves. Because it's gone on for so long, because of that hormone cortisol. Like, the more that's in your system, it's hard to just feel like a person. It affects us so strongly. And so anyways, I just, I hope I can help as many people as possible right now.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it.
Good. I'm so glad. And I love having you in it.
Yeah, it's really good. And I wasn't under normal conditions to do this. No way. And then upload it to YouTube without having it professionally edited. Absolutely no way. But then, I do things with the same spirit as you. If this helps one person,
yes,
then I'm happy.
Yeah, and it's been so interesting to watch this, Claire, because first of all, I love quarantine TV. I think it's just brilliant that you've come up with this and that you're doing this. And it's time for people to hear another perspective. I also do a show, I don't know if you've seen it, called Use the Pause.
No,
And
I
oh,
haven't.
you got to check it out. It's really
Sure.
cool. So I have two co-hosts. We started about a month ago, and we do once a week a show and just talking about, what are people experiencing? Like, what is that collective grief and
Mm.
how to process it, what it means, what you're actually feeling. You're walking around like all day holding your breath. What's actually happening, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's so good that you're doing this, that people can hear another voice and to hear the voice of resilience and to know that like there is another way to experience this time and that it is worth developing a morning routine. I've been doing breathing exercises, by the way. Before we did this, you asked me to share my morning routine and I realized I didn't say it, but
Yes.
I've been doing breathing exercises that normally I do breath work. People can there's all different types of breath work. The easiest way is through there's an app from Wim Hof, WIMHOF. There's an
I
app.
know Wim Hof. I've done his workshop.
Oh my gosh.
I've done his ice bath workshop.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So you've
Not with him, but
water
with
and
one of
on
the-
fire
with
and
one
you've
of the
done.
trainers. Yeah, I love Wim Hof.
Oh
He's
my gosh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
So I started doing a different breath work every day called Shakti breathing because it's like a workout for the lungs. And my perspective is like, if my body is strong, I believe in my body, I trust my body, I'm not worried in any way. If I get COVID, which there's a decent chance of that, right?
Yeah.
I want my body to be strong and prepared.
Yes.
Right. And so that's why so every morning now, what I've added to my morning routine is Shakti breathing to be strengthening my lungs, to give them as much power as possible so that if anything hits, they're prepared. Right. So I do that. I do meditation. I pray every morning. Most importantly, I start my day with gratitude. And I don't look at my phone till all of that has happened. Because if I look at my phone and, there's a crisis, there's more news, there's still no flights, there's, that's how my day starts. My day starts with cortisol. My body didn't even have a fighting chance. My mind didn't have a fighting chance. So I start my day with gratitude before I even open my eyes, before I even get out of bed. And by the way, I've done this since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So because I know what it's like to not be able to walk and to not be able to see. So I start just with my body. I can wiggle my toes. That's amazing. I celebrate that. I can feel my legs. I celebrate that. I can move my hands. And then I think about, oh, I love the delicious sheets, or I love hearing the birds today, or I'm so grateful to have a roof over my head, or that I am healthy and that I can serve others right now. Like you got to reach for it and find anything and everything and spend as long as you can in that place. I always tell people at least 18 seconds, go for several minutes. Why not? Especially if you've got the time right now, So I'll just be in that for a while. And the last thing I do is I open my eyes. And then I get to be grateful that I can see, because I know what it's like to not be able to see. So everything starts from gratitude. And by the way, when you are in a state of gratitude, all your cells function optimally. You can actually watch how the state of the cell shifts when you go into a state of appreciation. It's profound. So give yourself that gift, like first thing in the morning, your day is going to look different.
I agree.
I don't even know how I got to that. Sorry.
I agree. I've been doing gratitude journaling for
amazing
4 years now. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
really
awesome. That's I'm so proud of you. I'm so impressed by you.
I do the breathing exercises too every day, because
amazing.
The stronger my lungs are, like if I do get the virus, the better chance I've got of not being hospitalized. And the last thing I want is to be hospitalized. So I do a lot of breathing exercises, and my yoga teacher was involved in one of these conversations. He was in India.
Oh wow.
And he pointed out that when we are lengthening our breath and doing breathing exercises, we're getting more oxygen into every cell in our body.
Yeah.
So we're strengthening the whole immune system.
Yeah. Our bodies need oxygen. Right? So, and we're most of the time actually not breathing.
Yes.
We're breathing very shallowly usually. Yeah. So you really want to get that breath in as much as possible. You want to oxygenate your blood.
Yeah.
And it's, this goes back so far, but like, disease cannot exist in oxygen. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So, but
Cancer hates oxygen, for example.
Say that again.
Cancer hates oxygen.
Hates oxygen. So,
and loves sugar.
Yeah. So imagine if you're oxygenating your blood every day. That's something you could do from home. So, I usually, I don't do Wim Hof. I do a different type of breath work, but that breath work, the Shakti I do in the morning just to strengthen the lungs. And then usually at night, not every night, but usually at night, I just do, even if it's 20 minutes of breath work, and it really just helps like clear also all the stuff from the day. So I've been getting more into that. But the truth is that, like, listen, I'm a person who I had to learn how to take care of myself from a very young age. So I've been building this resilience. And I do believe that. I believe that resilience and strength is built and cultivated. I don't believe one person is strong just because they are, right? There are people like that. But I believe anyone can be strong and anyone can be resilient, that you can build that muscle. And for me, when all of this hit, I immediately realized I have to up my game. Like, I've had to increase my own coping. I had to increase my own morning routine in a new way, and change my day around, like have breaks within the day, break between client. Like, I had to really shift my schedule and my mindset around self-care, because all of us just need more than ever now. Yeah. So I've had to do that myself. So I'm like the average person, like, you got to be doing something. Like, if you're not taking care of what's happening, like between these 2 ears and right here in your chest, like, how are you going to expect to get through this time?
Absolutely. And even with everything I do, all the skills that I've learned, all the knowledge that I've got as a yoga teacher, I still sometimes have really bad hours.
Yeah, it's natural. We always do. I mean, there are times where I'm like, is this real? This isn't real. Are we actually going through this? But then I can just like, and whatever it is, it's going to be okay. Because like I said before, I come back to that trust in myself and trust in God. For me, that's everything. It's like my spirituality is everything. But I can trust him because I also know that I'm solid in here, But yeah, even those of us who are the masters, I'm in a WhatsApp group with a bunch of coaches and mental health professionals, leaders around the world. And yeah, we have our own freakouts and our own breakdowns. So it's like, if you're the master and you're in this space all day, every day, we also have our hard times. So it's like, even more so, I want to beat the drum of like, take care of your mental health right now, like never before.
Yes. And find out who your people are.
Reach out
to your people.
Yes. It's so crucial. It's so crucial. We should all be supporting each other. You're reaching out to them to check on them. And you can also reach out and say, I just need to talk. I feel, it's hard on me. You can also say, I need someone to lift me up, and to advocate for yourself in that way is really, really crucial. But I think it's never been more important to take care of our emotional state and to learn these tools. And it's also never been easier. Yeah. You can so easily listen to a podcast. You can be watching, a speaker online, a motivational speaker, something inspirational. Turning on good music is going to change your state, right? I mean, we spent 4 days with Tony. How quickly can you change your state? You just start dancing. You change your state. So, I have a dance party at home every day. I love it. I change my state.
Music's fantastic.
It's amazing. Anyways. This is amazing. I love talking with you.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good.
Much fun.
It's one of those things about, the adversities in life, they always have their gifts.
Absolutely. They do.
That was like that night when we met. It was like hours and hours of ridiculous texts from the person we were renting from. Hours of confusion, trying to meet up, not being able to find the place. The place didn't really exist. It was really hot. There was just so very much wrong about that time.
But it was right because we were supposed to connect.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all still in touch.
Yeah.
And how wonderful. How lucky for us.
Yeah, we are so lucky. And I that's my perspective on everything in life. You know, whenever, you know, people say like, you know, something is a tragedy or it's so hard, I'm like, who promised you that life was going to be easy?
Yeah.
Nobody said this was going to be smooth sailing. We are here to grow through challenges. I firmly believe that. And therefore, you know, even when David died, I believed it was right. It was exactly what was supposed to happen. And there I was growing from it and learning from it. Didn't diminish the pain at all, right? But I was able to have that perspective. The same with my diagnosis. You know, I just said, like, there's a reason for this, and I'm going to show up for it. And there's a reason this is happening in the world. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it any less painful, but there's a reason, and we are currently learning the good, and we will continue to learn the good. And but that you have to look for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all your work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Claire.
supportive.
It's so fun to connect.
Yeah. So lovely to talk to you.
You too. And I'm so glad you're doing this. Your viewers are so lucky, and your friends, your social circle, everyone is so lucky to have you, that you're bringing another perspective.
Thank you so much, Kaley.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Have
a good night there in the UK.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to jump off. Yeah.
Can you send me a link to your book so that I can put it in the comments for people who might?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a link to the book. I also have a podcast starting soon.
Great.
Lemonade starting this week. And
Lemonade.
Yeah, Lemonade.
Great.
Yeah, and a new book coming out. And what else is happening? Yeah, join our Facebook group. So yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you, Kaley.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.